This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. And as you can see, I'm in an exotic location tonight. I am on the beach, nearly on the beach, not in Brighton, in Morocco, Agadir in Morocco. Sorry a bit about the picture quality. Got a bit of fading light. Some people might say that Wolves were on the beach at the weekend, but we're going to talk into that. We're going to get stuck into it. It doesn't matter that I'm away in Morocco. We've got a lot of talking points and we're going to let you down. Extra time's always Sunday night around about this time. And we've got some fantastic guests to get stuck into the show this evening as well. First of all, welcome back onto the show. It's Hoops. How you doing, mate?
Not so bad, not so bad. How are you, mate?
I'm good. And your Wolf has turned round this week. Have you had words with him about his contractual situation?
Yeah, he's in the shot. He's got a nice little beach shirt on as well, and he's actually got some shades on which you might be able to make out. So he's getting in the theme of it as well. So yeah, he's pretty chilled out.
Absolutely. And as Darren said, evening, Dave and team, let's start the therapy session. Absolutely. Next up tonight, we do have hello guys in the background. They're the Moroccan people. They're happy people.
It's the Brighton Supporters Club in Morocco, I think.
Brilliant, Dave.
It's the Brighton Supporters Club in Morocco. And I've got some Villa fans to my left as well.
Oh.
But they're really nice Villa fans. So as well. They're coming on the preview for us for the thingy. Jason, how you feeling, mate?
Absolutely brilliant, Dave. Over the moon. Never felt better.
That's what I love to hear. Positivity, Jason. And we have an extra special guest tonight because we have Sky's Johnny Phillips, Wolves fan, who's down there covering the game. I think, were you covering the game at Brighton, Johnny?
Yeah, covering it yesterday.
And you've also covered the Bournemouth game today as well.
Brighton today, Bournemouth. Brighton yesterday, Bournemouth today. Bit of a South Coast overload.
At least you did a few goals.
I got back. I didn't get back too late today because it was nearly a kickoff. It was 2:00. It kicked off, so I was back. I was back by 6.
That's actually not.
It was all right. Bad, is it? I had to rescue the kids from my sister-in-law's and get them sorted, get them fed, and put to bed. So I've only just made it. I've been holding everyone up, I believe. Sorry about that.
Don't worry,
mate. Well, I'm glad
we can wait for this.
Yeah,
mate, I'm so glad you made it. It's going to be really interesting. Before we get started on the show, Johnny, we've already got over 151 people watching the show live. Obviously, loads more watch it back on catch up and listen to it on the podcast. Goodbye. Johnny, I just want to talk to you first because we've got a fantastic event that's coming up at the Grand Theatre, haven't we, soon? And it's Sir Jack's History Boys, Johnny. And what I want to do is talk to you a little bit about that before we get started. If you could tell everyone a little bit more about it.
Yeah, so it's a 20th anniversary special of that famous day in Cardiff for the 2003 playoff final, when we beat Sheffield United. I've reunited the 3 goal scorers and the man of the match, which is Kenny Miller, Mark Kennedy, Nathan Blake as the goal scorers, and Matt Murray, who got the man of the match. And they're all going to be on stage for a bit of nostalgia. I mean, 20 years, it's gone in a blink of an eye. It doesn't feel like 20 years ago, but there we are. That's what it was like. But it was an incredible day in Cardiff. We've got 1 or 2 surprises in store, and it should be a really good night. And it's going to be at the Grand. Yeah, it's going to be at the Grand.
As you say, Johnny, you've got the cast is there with yourself, Matt Murray, Mark Kennedy, Nathan Blake, Kenny Miller. It's going to be an absolutely fantastic evening. It is on the 22nd of May, 2023. I know there's quite a few tickets that's already been sold, hasn't there, mate?
Yeah, so most of the stalls have gone and most of the middle tier has gone, but we're working our way up into the top tier now. It's a great venue. So I think it's called a Dress Circle, but I might be wrong. I don't know what the theatre
Grand Circle.
Is it the Grand Theatre? Is that what it is?
The Grand Circle.
Yeah. Yeah, whatever the top tier. You might get a few in the wings down in the stalls down below, but I think most of the stalls in the middle tier is gone. But yeah, so get along to that if you can. It's on a Monday night. There's never anything to do on a Monday night, so get along to that. It'll be good fun.
Well, Chris Humphrey's here. I know he's just bought 2 tickets for the show today. I was talking to him earlier. He's coming on next. And guys, what can I say? The link to this is in the description below. Or if you go on Google and you actually type in the Sir Jack's History Boys Grand Theatre, you'll find there. Make sure you get on this really, really fast because tickets are selling hotter and faster than Brighton was scoring goals against us yesterday. So you need to get onto it. Johnny, first of all, before we go further on into, and I will remind everyone on the podcast before we end today, do you want to give us your professional opinion on yesterday for everyone watching?
Yeah, it was quite astonishing, really, wasn't it? Brighton are good, and they were always going to cause us a lot of problems, but I didn't expect Wolves to be quite as sort of bad as they were. They just didn't turn up. It was one of those days. You can usually bank on everyone, not everyone, but just one or two maybe having a bad day, some having a decent day, some having a middling day. But it was just collectively they were all really off it, and it was hard to explain. I think the root of the problems were probably in midfield, and the defence was a bit overexposed, and Diego Costa was a bit isolated up front. But it was a really strange one, and Brighton are just very, very good at the moment. And having Pascal Gross and Billy Gilmore in those 2 slots in the centre midfield, they've actually played 4-2-4, and they just ripped us apart. So it was a chastening experience, and I think having spoken to Julian Lopetegui after the match, I think he was a bit baffled by it. He said on more than one occasion that he didn't recognise his team out on the pitch, and you can see why he said that.
Before I get on to Jason following up, Jackie Oakley, Wolves fan, she was brilliant. She was so professional. She was commentating on the game. Yes, did you get a chance to speak to Jackie whilst you were there?
Yeah, so I'll tell you a little thing about that. She was in the press room before the match, and she was saying that she thought Wolves weren't quite safe yet and could still get dragged into trouble. And I was saying that's absolute nonsense. We're fine. We won't go down. We'll be absolutely fine. And there were a couple of other people in there as well, sort of that similar vein, saying, yeah, Wolves are fine. We're not going to go down. There's too many bad teams down there. Anyway, within 10 minutes of the game, she's on there with the 4th goal flying in or whatever it was, saying there were 1 or 2 people who are suggesting Wolves might not be in trouble, but this could be a timely reminder that the job's not being done. So I had to laugh. I did sort of talk my way into that, but she did a great job on commentary, and she always does a very professional job.
Over here, and I was thinking, because Jackie was on commentary, how she, as a Wolves fan, and she was so professional. We talked a little bit about that when we did the live podcast, about how you kind of like compartmentalize it when you're a Wolves fan and you're doing the stuff. So I guess it's kind of the same. Jason, you were actually there. You know, you weren't going to go, then you got tickets, and then you did go. I bet you were so happy that you went.
Yeah, I wished I didn't go. I mean, to be honest, I think it was one of them where if we'd have looked at this fixture probably 6 to 7 weeks ago, we would have knew that was going to give us a tough time. But when you go into the back, on the back of 3 wins in 4 games, you do go in with a little bit more expectation. And listen, from the off, I know you said we could have scored early doors, Dave, but even if we'd have scored, I don't think it would have made a difference. I mean, we were just poor, really, really, really poor across the pitch. And I went through the goals just before the show, and I watched them again just to remind myself how bad it was. I mean, the first goal, marking was shocking, right? Second goal, Nunes. Did you see Nunes in midfield? He loses possession.
Mate, he turns in and then completely lost it.
He does this pirouette and just then looks around him like he doesn't even know where he is.
Jason, and then he gave it away so many times, Nunes, yesterday.
He did, and then not only that, then obviously when it comes to the defence, then it was obviously poor marking on that goal as well. Third goal, obviously they're difficult to defend against. It was a perler. So the fourth one, So had a header beat him at the near post, but I mean, Sarr had already let fall in by half time, so he wasn't having a good day. the Welbeck effort was the 5th, and the 6th goal, Sarah Nunes. I mean, this playing out from the back when you're 5-0 down. Just do it away, just get rid of it. In my opinion, change your style of play. We don't want to concede anymore. We've got no confidence. We've conceded 5, and yet Sarri's playing the ball to Nunes when he's got 2 players on him. I mean, what's he thinking of? And Dave, I put this on Twitter today. They've got to get Bentley in now. Daniel Bentley's highly regarded. If they can't drop Sarr on that display, when's this lad going to get an opportunity? Has he got to wait for Sarr to have one of his arms amputated? When is he going to physically get an opportunity? Now is the perfect time to bring him in. Yesterday, I'd have brought him on and kept Sarr in goal as well. I'd have had both of them on the pitch. I mean, listen,
You would.
You can't do any harm at this stage by bringing him in. They've got absolutely nothing to lose. I agree with Johnny. I think we're safe. Yesterday was a terrible day. But I'd get that Dan Bentley and I'd give him a go. You can't do any worse than that. That was really poor on all fronts. The confidence must have been shot out the lot of them, but it was just shocking. And why?
Tell you what,
playing from the back.
I'll tell you what, mate, because Brighton obviously, they got knocked out the FA Cup on penalties. Heartbreaking for them. They got done by Forest 3-1 in midweek, although they did have a lot of shots and possession. And the last thing you want to do for this Brighton team is to give them a start and confidence. And the producer, she said, today is one of them days where I'll park the bus and soak up the pressure because Brighton are going to come at us. But I think Lopetegui went in, personally, very attack-minded into that game. You saw right at the beginning. And they just cut us apart when we lost the ball.
He did, Dave. But equally, I think there was a few players out there who subconsciously, we are thinking we're safe, and I'm pretty confident we are safe. And I think subconsciously, a few players have got that in their mindset. Listen, I might be wrong. I'm not flipping. I just think it was we didn't set up right from the off, and I just thought we was very, very, very poor.
Hoops, do you want to come in on all of that?
Yeah, I mean, to echo that, and just to go on the last point, you do question it as a mentality issue because, as we know, we've got a talented squad of players. And I felt after the Palace game, we all know that second half was a real slog. And I think a lot of fans, myself included, when I look at the bottom of that table, are pretty confident in terms of us regaining our status. So I did wonder how we would come up against Brighton on the basis that you referenced, they had a bad result against Forest. They've arguably, if we consider ourselves, and that's subjective, say for this season, got more riding on the game. So I was concerned, but to the level of which we seem to have kind of gave the game to them, to credit Brighton, they're obviously a fantastic side. I know they rested a few players, but which makes it even more embarrassing, I guess. But, they've got an incredible team, system. We all know about their recruitment. They're a fantastic outfit. But to the level of which I think we could have accepted a defeat on the basis that, we've come into it in good form and we are going to slip up. We're not going to get points between now and in every game between now and the end of the season. But it was just the manner, wasn't it? It was the mentality. You can talk about Lopetegui in terms of how we set up, but it looked very passive. They are professionals. And you hope that they compete for every game, but they're also human beings, and you just wonder psychologically after that Palace game if they switched off. And ultimately, in the most simplest of terms, they wanted it more. And if you don't compete with a side as technically good as Brighton are, then that can happen. So it can be no surprise. But I think it was just the manner of how we seemed to lay down for them that was most disappointing. Sarr's had a strange season whereby, he's prone to an error, and we get that, but a lot of the top keepers are. We look at the Leicester game, and then against Palace, I thought he was fantastic, and I thought that must have done him the world of good. And yeah, as Jason's referenced, he's then had a shocker, but other than a little bit from Neto, everybody did. They were all poor yesterday.
Absolutely, but I will come back on this. Obviously, it was a bad day. The goals are flying in. I thought they tried to be positive when they went down and they got caught and they sort of fell apart. I think the third goal, I think Ruben said the third goal was the killer goal. And then they just kind of fell apart. Lopetegui said we didn't recognise that Wolves team. Fair enough. I think he will have learnt a lot. I think he kind of experimented a little bit yesterday as well. Guys, in the comments, Jason made a point about would you make a change in goal and give Bentley a chance? Now, does Lopetegui want to see Bentley? I'm going to come back to Johnny because I know we've only got you for a short period of time before. Well, I would have. I don't know. I'm not really a keeper. I have played in goal though previously, but I'm quite small. So leave your thoughts in the comment section. Would you switch it for Sarr? I mean, Sarr played. Bear in mind, Sarr made some brilliant saves against Crystal Palace. He has made some Gasper. He has made some really, really good saves as well. And he wasn't helped by the midfield and the defending. I mean, Collins came on in the second half. The first thing he did was pass it to a Brighton player and then score. That was in the 3rd minute of the second half. Johnny, to you, do you think that Lopetegui is going to be experimenting a little bit? Do you think he's going to give Bentley a chance before the end of the season? And do you think we're going to see Raul in a Wolves shirt again before the end of the season?
Starting with the keeper, no, I don't think Bentley's been signed to play. I think he's very much an understudy. And I think Sarr had a great game against Palace, and arguably was the difference. He had a bad day yesterday, but a lot of them did. But I don't think Bentley's been signed as a keeper to play. I think he's very much an understudy. From what I saw of him in the Championship, he's a really good keeper, but he does have a rick in him as well. He's not, he'd have been snapped up and he'd have been playing already in the Premier League for somebody else if he was the answer. So very much how John Ruddy was the understudy to Rui Patricio. I can't see that dynamic changing in goal. I really can't. I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe Lopetegui thinks differently, but possibly. As for Raul, I do think we'll see him in a Wolves shirt again. Yeah, I do. I think there is a way back for him towards the end of the season, but obviously it's been made very clear that that Lopetegui's looking elsewhere long term, and obviously Costa, his salary's too high to be kept on at the current rate for another year, so he'd probably be off as well, unless there was an option to re-sign him on lesser terms. But I think Raul could possibly get back in for the remainder of the season. I think it would be the dignified thing to do to see him in a Wolves shirt again. He needs to, if it is his last season, he needs to be able to say goodbye to the supporters properly, because he has been phenomenal for us. But I don't think Lopetegui sees Raul or Costa as the solution long term.
Fantastic. And Johnny, I think we've only got you for about another 5 minutes.
I'm all right, mate. The kids are quiet, so you're all right. I can hang around for a little bit longer.
Oh, that's great. That's great, because I'm really enjoying it. I'm conscious you messaged me. I'm really enjoying this segment of the show. Back to you, Jason. Is there any, obviously what Johnny said, would you like to see? I mean, it looks like Raul's probably on his way. Costa, if he got his wage demands, he's a big character. He seems to be getting fit. I get what Johnny says on the salary is, but if he was willing to drop his thing, would you sign him again? And what other points would you like to make around that game?
With regards
going to hoops and the performance ratings and stuff.
Yeah, with regards to Costa, like I said, I don't think there's much room for sentiment. I think he's unreported 80 odd grand a week or 86 grand a week or something. If he did reduce his demand significantly, I mean, is there going to be many potential suitors for him anyway? He ain't going to get 80 grand a week anywhere else. Is he at 35? With regards to Raul, I do think there should be a little bit of sentiment there. Clearly something's happened behind the scenes as is pretty evident, but I do think he should be given, obviously, some form of send-off in terms of getting him on the pitch for however long, because he has been a great player. Saying that, after the performance, no one's, got the merit there to keep the shirt. So Ain't Nori as well, once again, I'd look at him as an option. Saturday, Dave, it's just awful. In the end, it was almost laughable, and you make a good day of it. So man of the match for me, I'm going to give it to Hugo Bueno because, listen, he's a young lad. He's come in. He's never had a pasting like that before, and he's going to learn from it. And, you know, who could you give man of the match to there? I mean,
I thought Neto had a good game. I thought Neto was probably the one. He was trying to make things happen and stuff.
Yes,
we actually gave. I actually gave it to the coach driver for actually taking them back home after the match.
Actually, we was walking past the coach. We come out about 10 minutes before, and we was walking past the coach, and one of the chefs, he was like preparing the food. You could see he was running from coach to coach. And I went, it's going to be a barrel of laughs on the couch, and he just shook his head. Moment of the match for me. Dave, I tried a baby Guinness for the first time. I don't know if you've ever tried one of these. It's Tia Maria and Bailey's, and it was fantastic. So that was my moment of the day, I should say. Performance rating. I've had a long look at this, and I'm going to give it a 1, Dave, and that's being generous. So for me, Bueno man of the match, baby Guinness is the moment of the day, and the performance rating 1.
Absolutely, mate. Well, that's some really, really good thoughts there on what you have to say as well, Jason. I think you're quite measured, really, today. I thought you might be a little bit more feisty, but I think because
I've got a hangover, Dave.
Have you got a hangover?
And as soon as I got back, the missus just gave me both kids.
And then
they were screaming and kicking me in the face and chucking cake at me. It was brilliant.
Did you see many Wolves fans leave at half time, Jason? Or did they most of them stick with it?
When they're doing videos and pictures of fans leaving at half time, like they did at the Anfield today with the Spurs fans, they're not leaving. They're going downstairs for a beer. I mean, I was downstairs after about 25 minutes, and I thought I might as well just drink the day away. And then, obviously, we kept hearing the goals going. But yeah, so... Yeah, I think I left about 10 minutes early. That was just to really miss the traffic. But it was amazing how many Brighton fans were coming out as well early. So when we got on the train to go into Brighton, it was packed full of Brighton fans. So even though it was their day in the sun, they were only 6-0. They're all leaving early. So
to be fair, if any Tottenham fans left today at 15 minutes, they'd have missed one hell of a comeback. And then it was insane. The Premier League is madness. It's like... I felt for them because they came back, they got the equaliser, Tottenham, and then like straight after, what a mistake, punished by, and it's Jota.
Yeah, that's one point I wanted to make. Didn't Neves make a comment on it, or I don't know if it was Neves or Lopetegui, on about there's been some weird and wonderful results in the Premier League this year, and you just think you can't put it down to chance. You can't put it down to the fact that teams are losing 6-0 like Spurs did the other week. Let's just focus on our own share of beep because it wasn't great.
Well, I do remember that game when we played Southampton at Molineux, and I think the players, if I remember correctly, were clapped off the pitch. I mean, we were thinking we're going to win 7-6. I think Southampton had 6 shots and they all went in. We didn't play that bad.
There's a great
story
about that. Matt Murray had his pen friend over from his younger days, and he hadn't seen his pen friend. This one, don't you, Johnny? He hadn't seen his pen pal.
Go on, Jason.
Forever.
Johnny's chuckling along, so he obviously knows this one.
Yeah, he got him a ticket in the goal, behind the goal in the South Bank. And obviously, he's, telling his pen pal he plays for the Wolves. Next thing you know, he let 6 in.
Hoops, over to you. Same questions. Highlight moment of the day, performance rating, your man of the match. And I don't want you getting stuck in the sand with this answer, mate.
Well, no. Well, to be honest, I think it's difficult, isn't it? Very quickly on Costa, I agree. I don't see the merit moving forward. The guy was semi-retired. He's come in and done a job for us. He's got 1 goal and 1 sending off, and he's been good of late. But to run that into next year as a financial decision, we've got potentially Fabio back, Sasha back. I don't see the merit in that, but not for it. He's a very expensive cheerleader, if that's why people want him around. But anyway, but into the game, where do I start? I think Neto is the only positive. We all know Neto is a fantastic player, and he's had some serious injuries for a young player as well. We know the talent is there, and he was a joy to watch, prior to his injuries. He's been perhaps a little bit unfortunate that he's been overlooked recently, but he's not hit the heights as we've seen. So I'm just hoping that perhaps he gets some games between now and this season, has a good pre-season and kicks on, because there's a hell of a talent there. So that's the positive I'm taking away. The moment of the match, I mean, it's probably the final whistle, isn't it? Or because there's nothing really to kind of get involved in within a particular moment for us, other than, as I say, a little bit from Neto and maybe 0.5 as a rating. But yeah,
I gave it 0.5. Actually, on my match reaction, if you watch it, I gave it 0.5, and I actually said I felt like we were a bag of chips on Brighton Pier, and the seagulls were just coming and pecking them and taking us apart. So
yeah, I mean, look, it was a tough day, but I think, you know, we've got to draw a line in the sand in it, really, haven't we, and move on. You know, if you look at, you know, we've lost 6-0, but ultimately, you know, as I was discussing on Twitter with those that were piling on Lopetegui, you know, we've seen 6 wins at home.
I can't get.
We've seen 6 clean sheets. We were bottom. You know, ultimately we were in a bad place, and you know, it appears that we're stopping up, but we've still got a fighting chance of it if you're gonna be generous. But you know, from where we were to where we are now, what is it, sort of top 7 form prior to the game, maybe top 10 form overall? So look, we have to put it into context. That was an awful performance yesterday. And Lopetegui, as he has said, has got to take responsibility. I don't quite like the setup with Lemina, Neves, Nuno Gomez. I don't think that quite works. And there's another argument for one of your earlier points, Dave, in terms of how we're going to line up. And if Neves is to leave this summer, as many suspect, does he come out and Gomez gets the games, for example? But that's another conversation for another time. But look, overall it was poor, but I think, as I say, we need to move on from that quickly, and what better way than a local derby? He says, hoping that, you know, that will be a game, and taking into account our home form, that we can, you know, get even more closer to stability.
Well, exactly that. And you know what? If I don't get, like, some people saying Lopetegui's not the one, he needs to go, all this sort of stuff. I just don't get it. But maybe they're Albion fans or whatever, because at the end of the day, we had 10 points from 15 games when he took over, and now we're on 37 points. And I'm with Johnny. We are safe. The BBC statistical thing said 37 or more is 100% safe. But we will get more points than that, and we do have Villa that's coming up next, and people do have to understand that he's coming in, and you're going to get inconsistencies with this team at the moment, because it's massively in transition, and there's going to be a lot of movement again in the summer that I'm sure they're going to back him. And you know, you've got to give this manager 2-3 transfer windows to get exactly where he wants the team to be. But along the way, we're going to get inconsistencies. Johnny, over to you. I'm going to ask everyone on this one. Obviously, your performance rating, your highlight of the day could be anything. It doesn't have to be the match. It could just be commentary, the bit of banter, whatever. Your man of the match, and also looking ahead to Villa. What's your prediction for Villa?
So man of the match, I'd probably agree with you and Hoops. I'd go with Neto on man of the match. He stuck at it, and it was nice to see him given so long on the pitch as well. Hopefully it's signs of, coming back into it a bit. I mean, the overall rating, I mean, yeah, you'd be hard pushed to give them anything more than 1 out of 10 just for being on the pitch, because everything else was just a shambles. The changes at halftime didn't work. Everything was just bad, really. So maybe stick with that 1 or half a point. My moment of the day was probably, I got a bit of karma came my way yesterday, because I'm in a WhatsApp group. And during the Man United Brighton FA Cup semi-final, there was a debate amongst us about terrible strikers. And I ventured that Dennis Undav was the worst striker I'd seen for many a year. Anyway, but a week later, he's on a hat-trick against us. And I end up having to interview him in the tunnel in the post-match scenario.
No way.
Yeah. So because it was his first Premier League goals yesterday, and he came in and he's the loveliest fella you could wish to meet. German fella, and just really nice, dead friendly. And I just thought, and you know what, the way he took his second goal, it was absolutely dreamy, that finish. It was unbelievable. And I just thought, good for you. You've clearly got something about you. And being written off on a sofa miles away watching a cup semi-final on telly, I got what was coming there. So, yeah, my moment of the match was interviewing Dennis Undav after it. But I'm just looking ahead to Villa because I'm going to have to go in a minute, Dave. So a quick look ahead.
This segment of the show anyway.
Cool. A quick look ahead. It's a hard one, isn't it? Because Villa are sort of. I always think that there's room, as there has been under Nuno's Wolves recently for a couple of years. There's always room for an outlier to get into those decent positions, hunting Europe down, and sort of holding their own with all the big spending traditional big clubs. And Villa have done really well to give it a go this year, as have Brighton. But on there, you still look at that Villa squad, and it's nothing massively special. I'd venture that, given a summer and a bit of time, there's no reason why clubs far lower down the league couldn't end up doing what Villa are doing. Just Unai Emery's got them really well organised and has got them well drilled, and they're sort of reaping the benefits of that. But on paper, I just don't see a great team there, or a team significantly better than loads of others in lower mid-table. So be interesting. I couldn't predict next week, I'll be honest. I don't know.
We just need a reaction, don't we? And finally, I'm just going to come back to you quickly at the end about the show again, Johnny. Hoops, and then Jason, your score prediction and your thoughts ahead of Villa.
Yeah, very quickly then. I think we'll go 2-1 Wolves. They are the form side, aren't they, Villa? Although they lost to United today, but up until that point, they've been fantastic. And as I say, they've got a chance of competing next year in Europe. However, our home form and maybe a little bit of hope more than expectation, but we have been decent at home. It's a local derby, so I'm going to say 2-1 Wolves.
2-1 Wolves. Jason, final word on you for this one?
I'm going to sit on the fence with this, Dave. I'm going to go for a 1-1. Like Hoops has said, our home form has definitely improved, but Villa are a side to be reckoned with. I know they've lost today, but they're a decent side. It's a local derby. Anything can happen. So I think if we get a draw, a share of the spoils, I think that'll be okay with me.
Fantastic. And guys, just to remind you, just before Johnny goes, make sure the 22nd of May, it's a Monday night. You know, most people ain't doing much on a Monday night. It's a fantastic opportunity. It's in the centre of town. It's at the historic Grand Theatre. On the stage, we've got, as I said before, with Johnny, we've got the History Boys, that memorable day. And Johnny, I bet you're looking forward to it, aren't you?
Yeah, it'd be brilliant. To be really good. There's some good stories from the dressing room. It was a team full of characters and there was some quite a few lively moments when they'd often sort of clash with each other, rise up against each other, and all that will be coming out as well. There's some good stories about what went on in that dressing room during that season in particular.
Fantastic. The link to get your tickets, and I say they are selling, as I say, like hot potatoes at the moment. So get on it quick. Don't hesitate. Get on it as quick as you can, and get your tickets for that event. And as I say, it's the 22nd. Links in the description below, or if you just Google Sir Jack's History Boys Grand Theatre, you'll be able to find it. And I'm also hoping when I get back from Morocco that me and Johnny are going to get 15 minutes to talk a little bit more in depth about the show, to put something here on the channel for you as well. Johnny, thanks ever so much for joining us on this part of the show. Much appreciated. I know it's been an immensely busy weekend for you.
Good to chat. No, it's great.
Fantastic. Jason and Hoops, thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah, all the best.
Cheers, fellas. Bye.
Cheers.
What a great start to the show that was. Getting Johnny Phillips on and Jason and Hoops to hear their views. As you can see, it's gone very dark here. I am literally sitting outside in Agadir, Morocco. We've got over 200 watching live, and we're going to get onto the second part of our show. I cannot wait. We've got Jack, the voice of reason. We need to get you a T-shirt with that on. Always Wolves, the voice of reason. That's your thing. How you doing, Jack?
Not so bad. Bit of hay fever, so I think that's a sign that the seasons are turning. I'm like clockwork, hay fever when it starts getting summer. So, but other than that, I'm okay.
An adverse reaction to that result yesterday.
It could be, couldn't it? Could be. Yeah.
Need a bit of antihistamine.
I think so. Yeah. It was. My eyes were watering watching that first half. I've got to be honest. So yeah.
Fantastic. Next up, we need to get him a T-shirt done. Angry Chris. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm not happy, Dave. Actually, I thought this was a Samaritan's helpline, but it isn't. So I'll carry on doing this with you. But I'm that bad. I've even got a plastic glass today. I can't even be trusted with a proper pint glass.
I know, mate. And last but not least, we have Sutty. How you doing, mate? Nice flag behind you there today, sir.
Good evening, people.
Good. I love it. So deadpan. Sutty, you were there yesterday, mate. Let's kick us off, mate. What you got to say?
They've let him down, Dave. It's irrelevant what system he puts out, Dave, really. You're a professional footballer. They've let that man down massively. And not only him, everybody that travelled there, and ultimately themselves, Dave. Shocking. Anybody that even attempts to give a man of the match for that. Utterly unacceptable. You cannot go and expect people to do 400-500-mile round trips to watch that shower. It was abysmal. Walking on the sand beforehand, I think, Dave, they were shocking. Absolutely shocking. Now, the team was... I didn't agree with the team formation. Unfortunately, it doesn't work with Neves in there at the moment. It don't work. So, and why did he not start Cunha? So he has got a little bit of answering to do, but as soon as he puts them across that white line, Dave, they get paid a lot of money. Put a shift in. Give up, Dave. Rubbish.
Mate, absolutely. And over to you, mate. Angry Chris, following up on that with Sutty.
I can't really disagree with anything Keith said. I mean, I Lopetegui, start off with him because he's got to have a bit of it because he's responsible. Like he said, it's his team. 3 weeks ago, we had a dynamic midfield. We had 3 forward players. We were going forward. We were putting teams under pressure. We didn't look like we were going to lose a game. And I thought, hallelujah, he knows what we're doing. This is the future. Away we go. He brings Neves back in, and it's gone to pot. That was the worst performance I've seen I don't think I've seen a worse performance from a Wolves team. It was, that I sat here thinking we could get in front of Chelsea with this team and the momentum they've got a couple of weeks ago. I thought, we could do that. Finish 11th. We talked about it on the air. That would be a really good endorsement that we made the right choice in the manager. Or I think we have. But that would have been the proof that he knew what he's doing. He's dragged us away from the dark depths of Bruno Lage, and we've got back. We've got back to something. But he brought him in, and the midfield just died. And it's like you're watching all the momentum pour out your hands like grain of sand. It's terrible. I'm so cross with the attitude, performance. Keith's right. When they go over the pitch, they just weren't even doing basic things right. And I haven't even started on Nunes yet. I need to calm down before I talk to him. So you need to talk to Jack.
Jack, just before we get on to Jack, I do want to say a big, obviously, thanks to Wolf Life for powering extra time. If you want your insurance and mortgages, please get on the link below for them as well. And also, guys, we've got nearly 250 of you watching the show just live at the moment. That's just on YouTube, let alone Facebook and also Twitter. So yeah, if you're enjoying it, please smash a like. If you want to comment in the chat, all you have to do is subscribe, and you'll be able to join in the conversation as well. Over to you, Jack, on what Sooty and Chris has got to say. Generally, obviously, mate, just be honest, just be totally honest, as always.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's kind of all been covered, hasn't it? The performance level was unacceptable. I mean, I think we've got to be honest, Brighton are a good side, but the way we played yesterday, Bilston Town would have beaten us. I mean, there was no enthusiasm, there was no shape, no organisation. The lack of leadership in that first half was shocking. You go 2-0 down after, 11, 12 minutes. You as a team, with your professional pride, you need to say, this doesn't get any worse. Even if we don't get out of our half till half time, this doesn't get any worse. We keep in this game. And it was just like watching a waves after waves, over the sandcastles on the beach. We just had no defence at all. The shape was all over the place. Semedo, I don't know where he was. He was halfway to Worthing, I think, for some of the goals. It was just shocking. And there's people who've, and I was going to talk about this because there was mentioning this on the Express and Star last night and on other things about refunding the fans. Not for me. Your apology comes next Saturday.
Yeah,
that's where the apology comes from, the players and the manager. You go and put it right on the pitch next Saturday. That's your apology. I don't want Instagram posts saying we go again and all this kind of stuff. I don't want things in the Express and Star and online and all this on the website. Work bloody hard this week in training and go and put it right next Saturday. Draw a line under what happened yesterday. Unacceptable, disgraceful. We can come up with as many adjectives we want and they're all justified. But let's go and put it right. Because what happens is you only ever get judged on what you do next. What's happened has happened. It's gone. Let's judge us on how we recover. And I think that's what we've got to kind of do.
Absolutely. You make a good point. Back to you on Sooty. Do you concur with what Jack said about that? Obviously, there's been the refunds and all that sort of stuff, because of the performance. I'm kind of like, on the same sort of pages, really. They really got to knuckle down this weekend, because I'm telling you what now, if we're talking this time next week and we've got battered by Villa after having a week, it ain't going to go down very well next week, is it, Sooty?
No, you don't want refunds, Dave. All you want is a performance next week. You pays your money, Dave, at the end of the day, and you go there, no matter what, win, lose or draw, you sing your heart out, and that's it. It doesn't matter. We've been in the 4th division, Dave. So these are the glory days at the end of the day. But it all goes back to how an individual player, and they come together as a team, apply themselves. They were on the beach. Tuesday night, I stood there. We won 2-0, Dave. We beat Crystal Palace 2-0. The place erupted like we'd won the league. Shouldn't have happened, Dave. As I said to you, there's got to be a big, big autopsy of this season from top to bottom. It's been abject failure for £207 million. Absolute abject failure from top to bottom. Now, take the current boss out of the equation. He saved us. We'd be relegated now. So he has got to have 3 to 4 windows and backed big time. Now, I said on our group chat earlier, I was getting a bit frustrated because I heard people saying, well, it's Brighton. We shouldn't expect anything at Brighton. This is Brighton, Dave. It's not Man City. It's Brighton. We should be going to Brighton.
I agree with you. And I saw that post and stuff. And obviously we have some really great debate. But as I have to be devil's advocate on here, but even Julian Lopetegui said that apparently they were the best footballing team in the world. And it felt like that we were trying to prove a point yesterday that he was right.
They lost to Notts Forest last week.
Dave, honestly, it's Brighton, Dave. Come on. I don't mind losing to anybody, Dave. I've seen us perform not quite that bad for a long time. I don't mind losing. It's how you lose. And you've got to, you see that thing behind me there? That crest, right? That crest There's absolutely amazing players shed blood for that crest. None of this lot have, Dave. And I'll even put the captain in that. That was abysmal.
Are you saying
absolutely abysmal?
Sutty, are you saying when you say that about Neves, are you just pointing that finger on him at the game for the weekend? Is that what you're saying? You're not saying generally. You're just saying
we've not played the same since he come back. Really, look, Crystal Palace, we won 2-0. There were periods in that game, Dave, where we weren't very good. We were hanging on. They could have done us, Dave. Make no mistake about it. If they'd had the shooting boots on, we'd have lost that one as well. So I wasn't stood there cheering, woohoo, we got 37 points. I was relieved we got 37 points, but it is not success to cheer that. They have been abject failure all season, and they've got to look at themselves in the mirror. They've got to have self-pride, Dave. They're playing for that thing behind. As I keep saying, we follow that thing constantly. We put our hard-earned money into going home and away, following that badge. That badge is probably comes second only to our families, Dave. We put that much time and effort into it. They should watch these vlogs. I'd have them watching it. I'd put it up on a screen and say, if that badge doesn't mean to you what it means to the likes of that idiot in that cap there pointing a pen at you, then you don't belong at this club. I don't care who you are. We'll ship you out.
I'd love to think that they do watch some of these reactions and things like that. You know, they're human beings. I'm guessing some do, some don't. I don't know. I'd love to know if they do. You know, Jeff watches, and I know they monitor the socials and stuff like that. But really interesting because they can get a general feeling of the you know, how the fans are feeling and get a reaction. I mean, you know, I'd rather, you know that young blind lad Fraser, how he's so passionate and enthusiastic and that for the club, and you know, we didn't see any of that the weekend. He was absolutely amazing. He's an inspiration. They need
Dave, I'm passionate like that little boy. He'll grow up like me, grumpy, following this lot. They've given me nothing in 43 years, Dave. Absolutely nothing. A Sherpa Van trophy and a League Cup for a club of this size is not good enough. It's about time we had a bit
European away days, went under Nuno, winning the championship. Some you know, knocking Man United out the you know, getting to the semi-final.
Dave, here's a question for you. I've wrote this down quickly because these lads deserve their say. Is this current side better than the side that won us the championship?
Chris, great point from City. You say no?
No. It's not a team for one. This is not a team of players. It doesn't play as a team. It was starting to play as a team, but it isn't now. We've wasted a lot of money on players in the last year and a half, 2 years. And the first thing we've got to do, if we manage to stay up, is we got to take a long look at what we're doing. We need to have a strategy of how we're playing, and that's the one thing I'm disappointed with Lopetegui, because we seem to have had a way, and we seem to have now walked away from it. The real problem, I think, is it's just that they don't gel. They're not working for each other. They're not covering each other. Some of them don't even look like they know how to play football. I do not know whether Lopetegui is playing Núñez in every different position because he wants to try and find out where he fits in for 40 million quid or what. But bar 2 games, he's done absolutely nothing for us. Absolutely nothing. And I thought he turned a corner. I thought we found a way of using him. But yesterday was just dire. The people are moaning about Sarr with the mix up with him, but nobody. He started that because he had the ball on the halfway line with a square pass available to him, and he ended up going back towards Sarr with the ball. We're 5-0 down. Just go for the bloody thing and try and win the game. It just was not working. It's just not that what we saw yesterday. It's not a team that plays together, plays with confidence, can do anything. And I'd say the old teams that I watched, Steve Bull, Andy Much and Mick Holmes and people like that, they were more of a team. than this lot. It's just abject. It is dismal.
Jack, you've heard what Sutty had to say. Not giving us anything other than a Sherpa van and a League Cup. The Championship team's better than this. Chris has sort of said that. You know, your points on what they've had to say on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think player for player, in terms of ability, our current team is better, but they're not a team. And that counts for so much more. You know, that's why we love the FA Cup. That's why we like international tournaments and things, because teams can beat individuals. You know, and I think we've hit the nail on the head there, haven't we? You know, you look at people like Nunes, who you can see has got unbelievable talent, but, you know, gets lost in a team performance and gets caught out of position and gives the ball away and shrugs his shoulders and jogs back rather than sprinting back. You know, we're talking about the goalkeeper again. I mean, for me, I think we need two goalkeepers. We need to play Sarr at Molineux because he don't let a goal in. And then away from home, we need someone else, because every time we go away from home, he chucks 2 goals in, or he gives away a penalty, or he does something daft in the game that completely shifts the momentum away from our team and to the opposition. It's bonkers that he seems to keep doing it. I just think we've got to kind of just get through these next 4 games, and that sounds dreadful to say. You've just got to kind of try and get through, because it's our passion, it's our hobby, it's in our blood, all that kind of stuff. But we've just got to get to the end of the season, haven't we? Maybe scrape another point here or there if we can, just to sugarcoat it. And then Lopetegui and Matt Hobbs and Gareth Arthur and all these guys have got to get their heads together, and they've got to sort this squad out. And whether that's in terms of, you know, who's got to go, who's got to come in, have we got to change the leadership group within there? Have we got to, all these kind of things? They've got to get that sorted. I'm not judging Lopetegui until at least, you know, the end of next summer's transfer window, because his job when he came in November, wherever it was to keep us in the Premier League. And for my money, I think he's going to do that. So I think part 1 of his mission, tick, job done. Then the real hard work starts for me, I think, in terms of getting... I mean, you look at that, I've talked about it last week and the week before, I'm getting like a broken record, but that Seville team that he built, that ripped us apart in that Europa League, that was a team. Individually, they didn't have big stars. They didn't have a world-class player in there, but they had a proper team where everyone knew their job, and they knew exactly when we had the ball, this is where I need to be. When we don't have the ball, this is where I need to be. That's what we need to get back to. And that's what Nuno's team did so well, wasn't it? You know, you knew exactly when we had the ball, where Matt Doherty was going to be, where Barry Douglas was going to be, where Neves and Saiss were going to be. You knew where Jota would be. When we didn't have the ball, you knew where they'd be as well. You know, and the opposition knew it as well, but they couldn't do anything about it because we were so well drilled. And I think actually, as good as Brighton are, and you know, I get what Sutty's saying, it is Brighton, but they are off the pitch, they're fantastic what they do, and they've overtaken us, haven't they? You know, but we made it so easy for them yesterday. You know, you watched that game. Yeah, you watched that game. All they had to do was press the person that Sarr was going to kick the ball to, because his kicks were that bad that the player either miscontrolled it and the ball went straight to the opposition player anyway, or they had such a difficult job getting it under control that they could get the ball pinched anyway. And our defence just parted like the Red Sea every time they broke, didn't they? And they had 3 or 4 players every time, 1 left, 1 right, a couple down the middle, and we just couldn't cope. It was a dreadful day at the office. But I hope, you know, if we can get a positive from it, that it's a bit of a wake-up call for the manager and for people at the top, that things need to change. You know, it's got to be a wake-up call, hasn't it?
Yeah, I'm going to come in on that.
Dave, it's that effort. And I'm just thinking back there. You said, well, what teams? So Mick McCarthy's Premier League team, that Wolves team took George Elokobi and made him a Premiership fullback who scored goals against Man United at Molineux. George Elokobi. George wasn't a brilliant footballer. He had a massive heart and he tried his best. But he played and he gave 100% and he worked, and that team worked as a team. That lot, yes, they've really ranked me off after yesterday. I'm really upset with them.
Right, I'm just going to come back on this, right? TJ's on their worst team he's seen in for many years. It was a dreadful performance yesterday. I gave it 0.5%. we disintegrated. But I'm not having any of this personally, that they don't care, that these players do not care. All of them don't care. For me, if they didn't care, we would be relegated right now. We would be down right now. If they didn't care, we wouldn't have battled our way out of being 5 points adrift to this. They, there's some of them that probably, are going to be somewhere else next year. You can think, but the whole squad, you've got to have some heart to grind results out. They were throwing their bodies on the line against Palace. Yeah, the quality wasn't there in the second half. They were defending. They were fighting for us, for the fans, and that's why you got the reaction from the fans at the Palace game. Brighton, it was terrible. But I will say this, that Manny's put it on there. A lot of people have put it on there. And Jack, you've mentioned it. Lopetegui is a top quality manager. We are going to see inconsistencies in this team because it's in transition. He's trying things out. He got it wrong the weekend. I expect that we'll see a reaction against Villa. We have to. If they've got any respect for themselves and for the fans and stuff, you'll see a reaction against Villa. It was a bad day at the office. United got beat 7-0 against Liverpool. Villa beat Liverpool 7-0 last year. Teams occasionally do have these results. I'll be glad when we do it to one of these teams. It was a bad performance. It was terrible. This is not the worst team that we've ever seen. It's a lot of individuals that are still being gelled together by Lopetegui. And I really do believe that his only job this year is to keep us in the division by hook or by crook with the tools that he's got. They backed him to a point, and he's got to this point, and there are mistakes that he's made as a management, and he's still learning about his players. And next year is phase 2. The summer, this recruitment. The problem was that the board dropped the ball when Nuno asked for the money. That's when it went wrong. He should have been backed when he said, I need the money, and they all fell out and he left. They dropped the ball. They thought, we've made it. And Fosun have realised now that they dropped the ball. And because of that, the teams like Brighton and other teams have gone past us. Villa have gone past us. Newcastle have gone past us. They ain't dropped the ball. They continue to invest. Brighton are an shining example. They were one goal away from going out the league, Brighton. And look where they've come. And they are a brilliant team. You got to say they're a bogey side to us. They are a brilliant side, but we handed it on a plate to them. But we have to keep patience. All this Lopetegui ain't going to take us nowhere. All this Lopetegui is not good enough and stuff like that. Give your head a wobble. Give the guy a chance. He will make us great again. Jack made the point. That Sevilla team that he built over 2, 3, 4 transfer windows played us off the park. They were brilliant. If we give this guy the time and Fosun and Jeff and the board back him, he's gonna build this team, and we will see a lot more consistency. We've got to get the away form right. He's starting to build Molineux into this fortress. That's phase 1. Phase 2 and phase 3 is still to come. Back to you, Sutty.
I totally agree with you. I said that to you last week. You've got to give him time, Dave. The unfortunate thing is now, Dave, is like I said last week as well, we're 3 years behind now because your board completely balls this up, Dave.
They dropped the ball.
Oh, absolutely. They've dropped the ball. They've kicked it straight over the top of the colour stand, Dave. There's no messing about here. They've kicked it straight out the ground. They ain't just dropped it. They themselves have put us 3 years behind. And how they did that, they got rid of Nuno when he asked for money, and they promised him money, Dave. And they renegaded on that. So that's down to them, right? They then employ Bruno Lage, right? Let's not be funny. They didn't back Bruno Lage, Dave. It's utter rubbish that what they spent in the summer transfer window was signings that he wanted. I'm not having that these are the signings that Bruno Lage wanted. Scott Sellers and Jeff Shee signed those players. Half of them ain't good enough. Some of them ain't even here now, and that's only gone the summer, right? Like Guedes, who we spent nearly 30 million quid on. So it's down to them to back this man. They're going to have to give him 100 to 150 million quid in the summer, plus anything he makes, right? Because this is a big rebuild, Dave. This ain't just we need a couple of players. This is a big rebuild because there's a lot of. You can say what you like. There's a lot of these. They ain't good enough, Dave. They just ain't good enough. Now, I don't wear them funny coloured glasses like you do, but I'm telling you now, so there's going to be 7, 8 players have got to go, and you've got to replace them, and that's going to cost you 150 million minimum.
Absolutely. Chris, TJ, fair play. Chris, on to you on this. And before we're going to, and also part of your segment as well, we're going to be getting into if you can pick a man of the match or a performance rated moment of the day, that sort of stuff as well, towards the end of the show. I've got to get with the, after this, I'm going to go and get a nice little cup of tea.
Yeah, look, I'm not saying Lopetegui's a bad manager. I'm not saying he hasn't done well since he came in. He has. I'm surprised that he picked that team. I'm surprised that he hasn't. I'm surprised that he still isn't seeing what I'm seeing with some of those players. I'm not the only one this season. Some of those guys were awful, and they're. I just don't see him being here. But I think we've got to accept that the board have backed him in January. I think they backed him. I think they realised they made a cock up, and I hope that they're going to be doing that come the summer, providing we manage to stay in where we are. I don't think that won't happen, but it's got to. As Keith says, we got to rip it apart. It's a complete demolishment job, and you look at them. I mean, Collins, he comes on there, he makes a mistake straight away. He's not Premier League football. How have we ended up spending 80 million quid on him? We need to sell him to somebody going into the Championship and get half our money back on him. And I could go through them all one by one and say, look, it's just...
Chris, do you trust Lopetegui to do what needs to be done if he's backed by the board in the summer?
If he's backed by the board in the summer,
fantastic.
That's my issue. I don't want him to do what I did with Nuno, because I generally think the influence of outside factors in our signings will move away in the summer. I don't think we'll be doing the Mendes suite like we have done. I think Lopetegui, he's his own bloke. He's got his own players. We've seen some of them come in the summer. We've seen him come in since he's took over. So I think yes, he'll be backed, and I think he'll do a good job. I'm not disputing his quality as a manager. I'm more peed off with the application of the players, superstars that we've got running out on that pitch now. How many yellow cards, how many forceful tackles did we do when that game was running away from us, Dave, yesterday? I'd have been running around that pitch, smashing people, trying to get the ball back, and we just didn't fight at all.
Chris,
I know the game's changed.
Chris, absolutely right. Yesterday was a humiliating and embarrassing, a disgraceful and unforgivable performance, but it's one game, and it was bad. And you can't define the whole season on one game. It's been a terrible season.
Dave,
terrible
just quickly, Dave, before Jack was on, it's not just one day, one game.
Yeah.
Leicester at home, Leeds at home. There's lots of them,
Bournemouth.
Dave.
Yeah, fair points. Fair points.
It's happening all season.
But what I'm saying is that result, the 6-0, is one game. That level of collapse in the way we collapsed. Okay, we've had bad results against Bournemouth. They had one shot off someone's knee, went in. Leeds, that was poor. But then we've seen us knock out Liverpool 3-0. We beat Tottenham 1-0. We beat Brentford with a great performance. We had the comeback against Everton. They fought with heart when we were 1-0 down with 10 men against Southampton. I didn't see a team that was not trying that day. I saw a team that fought back with 10 men. This is what I'm saying. There's inconsistencies, but we would have been relegated if there was no heart and no fight. There's teams going down. They have fought their way out, and it's not great, but we've got to be patient. Jack, demolition, Chris says in the summer. Is it a demolition or is it an evolution or a because as Manny's pointed and a few other people point out, there's already a start. You can't change the whole team in one transfer window. It takes a little while.
Yeah, I think it's a changing of the guard, isn't it? I think we've got a number of players that have done well for us and have taken us in a good direction. The likes of Jimenez, the likes of Johnny Otto, those kind of players where you think actually they're just not functional anymore for where we need to be as a football club, and so you've got to kind of move those guys on. And it's not personal, it's not malicious. It's just a fact of life, isn't it? The days where players will play for the same club for 10 years and get a testimonial, I think, are long gone. I think you get 3 years, 4 years maximum out of a group of players, and then you have to recycle and refresh. It's the same with managers, isn't it? The days where managers are going to be at a club for decades, like Ferguson and Wenger, that's not going to happen anymore, because managers have such short-term targets now that a manager gets to 18 months into his tenure and the board might go, actually, he's not doing what we wanted him to do. He doesn't get 3-4 transfer windows to settle in. Some managers aren't there long enough to boil a kettle, are they? And it's like, they'll just move on. And it's the same with players, so I think we've got to kind of be realistic, and we've got to kind of, almost like Chris says, we've got to kind of be really ruthless and kind of go, is this player going to help us move forward? If the answer's no, then you move them on, and sometimes that's easier said than done. It's not Football Manager where you click a button and the player moves. You've got to have someone willing to buy them, and the player's got to agree to the move. And I think that's actually, I know Chris mentioned Mendes earlier, that's probably where Mendes probably going to help us this summer, is getting clubs to buy the likes of Guedes and Cody and people like, that aren't, the surplus to requirements, if you like, and actually finding someone that's going to buy them for us. So, I think it's going to be an interesting summer. I don't envy the people in charge, because there's going to be a lot of really crucial decisions, and it's only got to take a couple of those to go wrong, and we'll be back here in 12 months' time having the same conversations. And we don't want to be doing that, do we?
I can't see past more than 8 that I'd want to keep.
Chris,
that's how I see it.
Chris, okay, let's see here your 8. Let's see whether Sutty and
I keep Kilman. I keep Kilman. I keep Breno. Dawson I keep, but I don't see him being long-term main centre half. He ain't getting any younger. And then you've got Gomez, Kuna. I quite like Sarabia. I'm running out of other ones to talk about now. You've got Neves isn't going to stay, so I can't count him. Lemina, yeah, Lemina's okay.
Neto. Wang.
No.
Pedence.
No. I can't see him there. No, I think he goes. I've been a big fan of his, but I think he goes missing, and he went missing quite a lot yesterday, and I just don't think he's got the fight in him.
Sutty, you'll say how it is as well. Who would you keep? Who would you go next year? Let's just fire them off, and then we'll close with the, the ratings and the predictions.
I don't know at the moment, Dave. You'd have to give me time. I'd have to look at them, what they've really done. They've all been poor this season, Dave.
Next week, have a think.
Next week,
that's
your
homework.
Down for you next week, mate.
Homework for next week. Let's have a look at who we're keeping and who we're going and stuff like that as well for next week. Jack, back to you. Then we're going to get Chris, then Sutty. Man of the match, if you can pick one, and it can be a funny one if you want. Performance rating, highlight or moment of the day, and your prediction for Villa.
Man of the match, I'm going to go with Neto, just because I think he's someone that I do like, and I do think, if he can get over these injuries, he's going to be an important player. And I thought it was great to see him yesterday. He had probably all of our best moments. I was going to quickly mention, if I can, Totti Gomez, because at full time, some of the players sort of got halfway towards the away end and then looked very sheepish and were about to sort of scarper down the tunnel. And it was Totti Gomez that actually made sure that everyone came over to the away end at full time. Now, for a relatively inexperienced, youngish player, I think that takes a lot of guts to actually stand up to your senior pros and say, you've got to go over there and you've got to let those fans know that you appreciate them. So I'm going to give a big shout out to Totti for that.
Totti Gomez is someone that every time I've seen him, okay, he's still raw, but he always gives everything.
Yeah.
He's enthusiastic. He wants to make it.
And listen, I think, we're talking about what we've been discussing today. A team of Totti Gomez, you're far more prouder than a team of Mateus Nunes, aren't you? For example, even though Nunes is a much better player, a team of Totti Gomez gives you absolutely everything every time. You can't complain, can you?
No.
You know, it's like we said with Ella Kobe and people like that, isn't it? Performance rating, I can't give it much more than a 1. I'm being really honest. I mean, we tried to play some football. It didn't work, and we didn't learn from our mistakes, and we did it time and time again. So nothing to really, you know, pick out in terms of positives. Highlight of the day, I'm going to go with the weather, because, you know, we've had a really long winter, haven't we? It seemed like it's been raining since about October, and we were stood there in the away end yesterday, and okay, the football was awful, but we were in our t-shirts and the sky was blue and everything. So that's obviously that's something to look forward to the summer, isn't it? So yeah, highlight of the day, the weather, which just about says it all, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And what's your Villa prediction, mate?
0-0.
0-0. Chris?
Man of the match. Well, I'd rather say people of the match, and that'd be these and any of the others that went down and had to sit and enjoy their way through that. I'm not going to give any player a man of the match. I'm not even giving a rating. I think you were very generous at 0.5. I'd have given him 0.05, Dave. I thought it was scandalous. It just highlighted the day for me was the referee bizarrely only giving 2 minutes to stoppage time after 90 minutes, because I thought it was going to be another 10. It's going to be 8 or 9-0 with who they brought on the pitch at the end, but it didn't happen. So I was very pleased that he only gave 2 minutes of injury time. I've got no clue what to expect next weekend against Villa. I'm very perturbed at the way that those players went out on that pitch and performed on Saturday. I'm worried that there's something there that the manager can't address.
Mate, I'll get your worry, I'll get your concern. Like I say, we pretty much are safe. I know people say it's not, but you know, I think we're safe. But I get your concern, because when you see performances like that, it's disheartening and it's soul destroying, and you think, what's happening? But I think you've got to obviously just take a step back and just give him the summer, and then let's see where we're ending up at the beginning of next year, because that's when I think we'll start to really see what sort of team he's building. But I'll say again, and we've all come back, they dropped the ball 2 or 3 years ago, and that's why we're in this position now. If you don't take action and you just sit back on your laurels, eventually in this division you'll get dragged into it. You just got to continually invest, and the teams that have done that, like your Brightons, and you have to applaud them. You know, they've been good off the field and on the field, and that's why they are where they are. And I do think that they've realised from this mistake that it was a mistake, and now they're trying to put it right. And I think they've gone all in with Lopetegui, and he will hopefully get the backing. Over to you for the final word on today's on yesterday and this week, mate.
Me. Just quickly, Dave. I just want to say I've got nothing against Brighton, saying that this is Brighton. We should be going at them. We should be going at them. Brighton are an absolute joy to watch. Fantastic football team. Brilliant football team. I'm just disgusted at how we went against them, to be honest. We should have given them a game. We didn't. We made it easy for them. Performance rating. I'll give them 0.5 for putting their boots on, Dave.
Same as me. Yeah.
Man of the match, I'll give it to the bloke that collects the cones and balls up after the warm-up, because he did more running around than they did. All right. Villa. Oh, Christ. I'd like to think that we could out Brighton out here, Dave.
Yeah. We've had actually a few Brighton fans on tonight saying, "Can you beat Villa for us?"
We have got to forget this, Dave. We've got to put it to one side. Now, I love Manny to bits. I don't agree with what he's saying. We haven't done anything in 43 years. We've got a few memories, but we've won. For a club our size, we've done very little. It's been poor. And we should be getting something now. If they'd have invested for 3 years properly, we'd be in a much better position, and maybe with a bit of silverware. But there you go. So I'm gonna go for a cheeky 1-0 win, and it's going to be fingernail stuff, Dave, right? And I just want to say, Dave, the reason I've put this up, the greatest player to ever play for Wolverhampton Wanderers, played over 100 times for England, was a man called Billy Wright.
Oh.
And he played with heart for that crest. Not that particular one, but the old one. But I've put this up here because he played for England and Wolves. And I think he's been a bit dismayed with yesterday's performance, if he could have seen it. But more so, I've put it up there to say, Vicky, we're rooting for you, girl. Keep your chin up and keep battling.
Yeah, that's well said, mate. Absolutely. And we echo that and send all our love and best wishes, mate. Absolutely. You know, football is such an important thing, but life and family and all that sort of stuff, you know,
absolutely
is the most important thing of all. You know, so absolutely well said. If you were wondering what the secret word was, it was sand. It got said a few times tonight. You know, absolutely. I know we try to put a little bit of humour. I always try to play a little bit of devil's advocate with the argument and stuff that's, you know, and stuff like that. And obviously, yesterday was a bad day. You know, it was a bad day. But we've got to put it into context. You know, we could be Southampton, we could be Everton at the moment, we could be Leeds, we could be Forest, Leicester. You know, fair play to the likes of Bournemouth. My God, they were written them off. I wrote them off. Fair play to them. You know, small club, big heart. They've played as a team and got themselves out of trouble, and you have to applaud it. You know, Palace have turned it around as well. You know, I think West Ham will probably get out. I think it'll probably be, I think Southampton are gone. They can't physically pass us with points now, can they? I think they're gone after today. No. And then obviously, you know, we can sit here and moan about that performance yesterday and all that. I guarantee you right now that the fans of Nottingham Forest, Leeds United, Everton and Leicester wish they had 37 points, because they're going to be sweating right to the last day of the season. And on that note, thank you. Subscribe if you're new. If you're watching this back on playback, leave your comments. If you're listening to it on the podcast, I hope you're enjoying it wherever you're listening to it in the world. We will be back with content all the way throughout the week, and of course, extra time next week. God bless you all. And from all of us here, wherever you are, always walk, keep the faith. It'll be all right.
All the best, people.